Okay, so we are officially more than 1 year in since we went public to the entire world with our nonprofit Nightwalkers Incorporated. And so here are the top few things I've learned and gone through as the founding president of this nonprofit. First of all, no amount of preparedness could have been sufficient to foresee how things were going to turn out. We started with this idea of conducting some pretty hardcore scientific fieldwork with the general public community of Pensacola, and it was a bit ambitious, but we thought, hey, there was likely a good amount of people we could bring into the world of field research and just get people excited in science in general in this area. And after all, our mission statement is to further field research with participation from people that share interests in fieldwork, flora/fauna, and ecosystem functions, all with a focus in conservation and natural history. Okay, so that being said, our planned out activities included tree climbing high into the canopy to look for frogs, setting up trail cameras and audio recorders that would be periodically checked, and then of course doing our bread and butter of Nightwalkers Inc., which is doing night walks, of course, looking for frogs. And of course, we had lots of our bases covered beforehand. We secured permission to use the field site for research purposes from Fish and Wildlife Services of Florida. And we put some ropes in trees and had a few friends come out and test them with us. And also, we've regularly been just walking the swamps at night looking for animals and getting a good idea of what it would be like with a big old group of people with us. So we had more of a social media takeoff initially, and that was just to get our social platforms gaining a bit of traction and also having some posts before we have some of these big events. We did have a few public night walks to start out 2025, but literally nobody showed up to any of them. It was just me and my wife in the woods doing our science and looking for frogs and Bigfoots, I guess. And in hindsight, it's actually probably a good thing that nobody came out to those first few walks. And that is because it wasn't until we had our first big promotional booth set up at the Pensacola Earth Day Festival that we really figured out just who was going to possibly be showing up to our night walks in the swamp with us. And the majority of the people that came and talked to us at the booth weren't really the type of people we were expecting. We had a whole bunch of little kids and their moms trying to keep them occupied come up. And then we also had a lot of older people that came up, and they were just kind of looking for something to do in their spare time. And I'd say maybe 25, maybe up to 50% of the people that we talked to is who we really imagined. And of course, that got us a little bit worried about having an event where more than half the people might show up and straight up not have a good time. Okay, so that brings me to, I guess, something else that I've had to navigate going forward, and it's still happening even to this day, which is adapting our nonprofit so that it aligns with the needs and interests from the broader Pensacola community, but also at the same time narrowing it down in areas that still accomplish what we ultimately wanted for this nonprofit. We looked at doing night walks in more of maybe a manicured or park-like location. I went to countless roadside ditches, neighborhood ponds, and parks at night last summer looking to see if there were any areas that could accommodate little kiddos and then also older people that might struggle in the mosquito-infested swamp that we originally intended for these walks to occur in. All right, but after talking to my friend Catherine from Tennessee, she was down here with her husband Boyd, that kind of felt like we were more abandoning some of our core principles of who we were. And she really pointed out that it was a watered down everything we were trying to accomplish by broadening our events out so that everybody and their grandma could come out and participate. So I'm really glad she pointed that out. And so our board of directors, being me, Jenny, and Chelsea, we had a little chat about it in South Florida, and we all kind of agreed that it would be good to stick with the direction we were headed initially and make it clear to people coming out to our night walks of really what to expect. We still welcome anybody to come out and participate with us, of course, but we have made it possible to have more abridged walks if people cannot be out the whole time with us. We also don't travel as far into the swamp, and we also have more of a streamlined data collection for an audience that can be insanely diverse. Jenny, my wife, she's really taken the lead on many of these aspects, and so I'm really grateful for her. So I guess my point is that I'm kind of like learning how to make this nonprofit something accessible to the community while ensuring our mission stays true. And this has meant kind of teetering between like extremes of broadening our view to everyone in the world, and then narrowing it back down again, making it even too narrow at times. So hopefully that makes sense. And lastly, I was a bit worried how finances would be and if I would be overwhelmed with like the bureaucracy or anything. Totally not though. It's actually pretty easy. If you're interested in starting your own nonprofit, it really isn't terribly hard. Staying consistent with always progressing and like moving forward has been the toughest part of this nonprofit though, I'd say. And especially since I have a full-time job as well. All right, gosh, all right. There has been a lot to say, a lot more I could say in this first 1 year of starting a nonprofit, but I don't have time for that. I gotta go back to running this thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and feel free to learn more at nightwalks.org or see us if you're ever in the Pensacola area. We'd love to have you out there in this swamp with us. Thank you.